Okay. We will call a meeting to order. Young County Commissioners Court sitting in a regular meeting Monday, April the 9th, 2018. It is approximately 9:32 a.m. Make note that this meeting has been posted and published in the manner and for the time required, and that all members of the court are currently present. If it's convenient, please advise. I move Commissioner Rogers to give her invocation and pledges.
Okay. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just ask you to be with us this morning. Bless all those that are present. Watch over us, guide, direct us, give us wisdom on issues facing us today. Better our community, better our county. Father, we just ask you to comfort those that are hurting, comfort those that are ill, those that have been in accidents or incidents. We just ask you to watch over those and recover and comfort them in their healing process. Father, we just ask you to watch over us and forgive us where we fail you and work your will in our lives. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, if it be the court's pleasure, we'll move to item number 9. That'll be sheriff and jail reports. Nancy requested that we jump up there so he can jump back up to district court.
I appreciate it, Your Honor. Here is the patrol report. The sheriff regrets not being able to be here this morning, but he had to attend to a case with a victim up in Wichita Falls. He asked me to cover for him this morning. Here's the jail.
Which one do you want to back?
Well, we'll start with the sheriff's report for the patrol. Had 97 calls for service, 8 arrests, 4 forensic interviews at Virginia's house. 2 of those arrests were drug related with 1 gram of meth seized. For whatever reason, we've had an influx of calls for mental health issues, but we only took 1 into custody this past month. I think over the weekend there have been 3.
Took 1 into custody by meaning?
They actually transported them, took them in and transported them to a mental health facility.
Transported them to Wichita Falls? Or
It was to Red River, actually.
So it was voluntary commitment?
Yes, sir, it was.
Very good.
Any questions about? They traveled 7,773 miles, 187 traffic stops, and 28 citations issued. And then 43 sets of civil papers were served.
Yeah, I don't know, and you might not even know that one, but it says civil process served 43, and the minimum amount generated for civil process is $950. That comes out to $4,000.
Well, because some of those were grand jury subpoenas for the district clerk.
Okay. All right.
I mean, district court, presets to serve on indictments. All those get lumped in there.
Okay.
And we don't get paid for those.
Right. Okay. Gotcha, boss.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Any other questions? I'll try to answer them. Of
What was the call?
I won't be able to tell you what a particular call is, because I don't have that, I didn't, they gave me the folder and I said, I'm not taking all this with me. I'd be sitting there 15 minutes trying to figure out which call was what.
So we memorize you a little bit.
That's fine.
Our livestock complaints have come down tremendously.
Yes, sir. It's getting better.
Yeah.
Maybe as things get
It's an
greener.
improvement.
Our jail is looking pretty good, population-wise.
We're doing well.
A lot of room there.
Well, and I'm reaching out and trying to, as you can see, we housed a couple more for Baylor County, but those cases went federal and they came and picked them up, so we only got 20 days last this month of March, and we'll only have for about 5 days into April. But talking with Throckmorton County and some of the others that are, but right now we just, and it's a good thing because we're expecting jail commission any day. We were expecting April the 12th of last year. And so it's really better for us for inspection purposes to have a lower population. It'll make inspection go quicker.
Which is good.
Quicker the better to get out.
That's right. No, we're ready for them, and I don't foresee any issues as long as we don't, the generator starts and our smoke alarm works. I think everything else is in, so we're ready for inspection. We just want them to do it and get it over with and get on down the road. But we're staying right around that 50 mark. We averaged 54 last month today. This morning at 6 a.m. we were at 56. I'm sure maybe one or two of those may get out on bond.
How are the new windows that we installed doing?
We're good.
Seen any activity on the windows?
No.
Good.
No. And I'm going to tell y'all, gentlemen, the reason that is because we are doing our hourly cell checks, okay? If you'll remember, back last February, I started using the pipe again. Y'all had already purchased that equipment, and they, for some reason, abandoned it, quit using it. I don't know why, I can't answer that. You'd have to call the previous jail administrator, but we started using it again. We had to buy a program and reprogram everything, but we still had the actual wands and all the other equipment that goes with that. So they have to physically walk down to that cell, stand there in that window and touch it. Because it timestamps, dates and timestamps and who did it. So that eliminates them pencil whipping reports. And that's how that stuff happens, is because nobody's watching them. If they're down there on a regular basis and we're doing what we're supposed to do, they don't have time to sit there and scratch on those windows.
Good.
I mean, that's eliminate that. Now, we do have some residual and others, but I didn't replace those because it didn't affect the inspection. And I wasn't going to spend the money if we didn't have to. So, you know, there's like the rec room, some of those windows are still scratched up from previous, but as far as the ones we replaced last year, no, those aren't scratched.
It's all good news. Good job.
So, anyway, for the jail, we traveled a little over 3,000 miles. We took 8 to TDC. We picked up 6 in other counties. We had 1 juvenile transport.
Wichita here.
Yes, sir. That is correct. We had 2 to MHMR, which was 1 was Red River and 1 was to Oceans and Abilene. We had 11 of their local MHMR appointments. That routine transport to Graham Regional, that's because we have a pregnant female that has been sentenced to jail time. Hopefully she'll be getting out here in a couple more weeks. Because we have to, by jail standards, we have to provide her prenatal care. She has to go see Dr. Colley. So that's what that is. And then we held 28 inmates for the city of Graham for 80 days. Then 3 for Albany for 8 days. And then we housed the 2 for Baylor County for 10 days each. So we billed them for 20 days. And as you see, that's $900. Our cost is $620, so we netted $280 for that for 20 days. But
On the pregnant woman, are we gonna have a baby in jail, or is she gonna be out before?
no. She's
Okay, good.
No, I would be,
Sweating it too?
no, we're actually, we've got plenty of time, but
Right.
fortunately, she had some previous time on this charge, and the county attorney only played her to 120 days, so she'll have her 120 days up in about 2 more weeks, and so she'll be out before her due date, which is good, because we don't want to pay for the expense.
So we heard anything on the reimbursement?
No, sir, I have not. Miss Perry that handles that retired, and I don't know who's replaced her, so I don't really have a contact on that anymore. Evidently, TDC's had somewhat of a shakeup. And so, I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
Okay.
But I am,
It'll be a nice check when we do get it.
ooh,
And that Oceans also, are they easier to accept than the Red River?
they are, but that used to be the Abilene Behavioral Health Hospital, and Oceans bought it. And so, they're a little more flexible right now because they're wanting people there, they're wanting to fill beds. Now that
They're on
could,
Treadway?
oh, don't give me a line about the address of it, I'd have to look it up. They've been very helpful here lately, especially if they have some type of insurance, but even they've taken a couple that didn't. So, yeah, they've been a whole lot more receptive than anybody else. It has.
They only take, volunteer committee.
No, they'll take anything.
They'll take forward.
They will take them. It's good. So it gives us another option between them and Red River, and then UBH and Denton. It kind of gives us a little bit of more options than just the state hospital or just Red River. The thing with Red River is they've got to have insurance or MHMRS degree to pay for it. Kind of like Denton, but with Oceans, they're a little more flexible right now, and
And
that's,
the way there at Red River is voluntary commitment.
well, they won't take them if they have charges, yes, that's true.
You know, you're not looking but 60 miles difference round trip between the two places.
The
Right.
beds that MHMR that Tom Fairby has over there, they're drug rehab beds, but still
Okay.
dry out, these all.
Right. Any other? Yes, sir.
And there's been a date or time set up for the evidence inventory started on that?
Oh, they started on that Monday, last Monday.
Yeah, he said he was gonna move
They
it
didn't give them 30%,
That's right.
And
so they started, did they do the training first, or they just went right into?
well, no, they started into the inventory first. They were gonna actually do a webinar today on the training. But they had to, because of people being out and us scrambling, we had to pull Sergeant Moody in to help with, because we have so many different things going on today. I've assigned one of the jailers to assist him. So Officer Bibby's helping with that. So he's actually learning to help process that evidence along with Sergeant Moody. So that we always have somebody with him while he's there and keeping this thing going, because Sergeant Moody has to go answer calls and whatever else. And so he's gonna do the training with him. And then that way, we've always got that backup. So, and they were there this morning, bright and early working.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, you're just waiting. Item number 3, public comments, announcements, presentations is just the only thing that I have here is Week with the Young Child, they actually 15th through the 21st. They'll have a little parade and celebration right here in front of the courthouse on Thursday at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. it's an annual kind of celebration. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, since we won't have a meeting before the Crawfish and Cannons celebration at Fort Belknap, Jim's here, so tell us what the plans are for Crawfish and Cannons at Fort Belknap.
Crawfish and Cannons, April 21st. We'll start serving about noon, $10 a plate. We've got, right now it looks like we're gonna get about 300 pounds of crawfish from the coast. Brought up, they're big, they're growing every day, so. And as they get bigger, it seems like the price goes down for us, so.
Have you ordered good weather? Have you ordered good weather?
If we order, yeah.
He did good last year. He got me to actually eat one. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've never ate one. I wouldn't suck the head, but I did eat the tail.
They're really good. And the fact that we're getting them so cheap right now is really it's kind of a blessing that it's.
And that is sponsored by,
Well, me and my wife. We're doing it this year. Friends of Fort Belknap usually does that. Friends of Fort Belknap will do the all the reenactment stuff, but the crawfish and stuff, Amber and I'll be getting. So that's why I say it's a blessing that they're so cheap.
Everything will begin about noon?
Yeah, we'll start cooking in the morning. It used to start at 10, but people would get there. We didn't have the crawfish exactly where we wanted them at, so
Are you gonna start with the doctor?
yeah.
And that, what's the doctor's time?
We'll shoot it off the first time at noon.
And what?
At noon.
Noon.
We'll do that first time at noon.
Got to do that too last year.
That's a unique opportunity.
It was fun.
Anything else?
Had the duck deal done.
duck deal went cold,
Yeah,
but it was very successful considering the weather. They got the ducks from one spot to the other spot, had a winner, had a loser.
Tanner Walls.
Tanner Walls.
That's what I heard.
And Dr. Reed from Methodist Church got dead duck last, they call it.
Dead
They got $250 for being the last duck across the country.
The city really did a good job. They really did.
How long did it take the race?
About, what, 30 minutes?
I wasn't there.
Oh, I was there. It took about 30 minutes.
Yeah. Was there a fair crowd?
It was pretty weak.
Pretty thin.
It was cold. Man, it was.
I understand the snow cone truck didn't do very well.
Nah, I didn't see a person ride the stuff. I see people around the barbecue pits doing this.
But they were rather flexible. They switched to hot chocolate and sold out. So
Saturday morning reported about 29 degrees going on.
yeah, the wind chill must have been way down there.
Oh, it was 15, I think.
14 or 15.
I was wondering about our tender little bills.
Well, I think we got saved on that, and in the areas that got some rain showers. And as soon as it hit, it froze, so.
And Marsh on the league. So the duck race, I guess, the Spivey Hill Challenge they run into the same day.
I didn't know.
That was cold running.
They were trying to get me to, I'm like, yeah, okay. This fat boy can roll down the hill.
Be like you're coming down, it would be going up.
That's all I had.
Yeah. Wheat, you know, the wheat probably is in boot stage, probably coming close to starting head.
Some of them's already headed.
You get in yet?
Hope not. It's just a hobby anyway.
Well, no. Some people actually try to make those.
Make the hobby pay for itself anyway.
Well, I had to sleep for that.
Got cattle, you know, electric cattle on it, it's right there.
Saturday morning,
About it all.
Saturday morning, the rain was freezing to the 5 p.m. at my house, so
That's
that's
true.
pretty cool.
I'm afraid it's sure not a, you know, that 29, 30 degree wind blowing about 30. It didn't, it blew away the frost, but it stayed around a long time.
Yep.
It's below freezing.
Just stay below freezing for a while.
I did see it curl up some thistle, it was already curled in there, so.
Johnson grass, yeah, that's good.
He got all that Johnson grass he wants.
That's a big part of our economy and our taxpayers' dollars, so we need to start with it.
I'm here for the wild plums, garden tomatoes.
The skeets got fooled, didn't
The young ones did.
Okay, item number 4. Consider county clerk minutes from previous meeting, March 26th and March 29th respectively, 2018. Are there any corrections, deletions, or additions that need to be?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Pruitt, to approve those minutes as presented respectively. All in favor? 5-0. Item number 5, consider treasurer's financial report, updates on security pledges. You got
Just the
anything?
pledge, just the pledge in
$56,984.26, so move.
Second.
Motion approved. Second Wiley,
Yes.
to approve updates on security pledges as reported. All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, consider auditor's budget amendments and payment of vouchers.
I have vouchers today.
No amendments?
No, sir.
That's good.
The total is $53,853.73. And out of the general is $38,697.62. And there is butane included in this. And also included is your travel for the commissioners going to Frisco. So those checks will be ready later today.
So move.
Abstain. Abstain.
You forgot my sneeze in there.
Huh?
Got my sneeze in there.
Who's second? Who's second? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 401.
Who's second?
Yes, second.
Mr. Rogers?
Commissioner Rogers, make note of Commissioner Wiley's name.
Commissioner Sykes, also, we got your FEMA money, and I guess we should tell
Oh,
them.
yeah, well, can we back up just a minute?
Yes.
FEMA did reimburse precinct 1 with $190,000, that wasn't it?
See, I'm trying to get, I don't have the exact.
Thereabouts, we were expecting a
Possibility of about 30 something.
thousand more, so.
Good.
So we turned in about $305,000 worth of repairs and expenses to those roads, so. The bulk of it has come in, we're still working on another 37, so. But you know that is come to an end somewhat, so, we're getting there anyway.
We're supposed to split that,
Yeah, sure,
supposed to split that.
sure.
Just
Just
like
as
they
soon.
did.
Yes.
Consider approval of bond for Clifford Lawton Blackstock, we appointed him last week, or 2 weeks ago, as constable for precinct 3, to serve until the next general election. That bond is payable, I believe, to the governor. So it has to be approved through the Commissioner's Court. It's $500 minimum, $1,500 maximum. We made the bond for $1,500.
So moved.
Second.
And if you have that case, you can have that.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Rogers to approve that bond as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Both your precincts 4 and 3 is in his precinct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you have any at all of your precinct in precinct 1?
I think
Monument
Monument Road is the cutoff point there.
So that's cut off up the precinct.
Yeah.
I think it drops down in the full
Oh, yeah.
So Matt's got some of it off there.
It's weird how that JP line.
I know.
It doesn't have to be, JP, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have to be, it's not under the one man, one vote rule.
I understand, I was just trying to figure out where exactly that
Looks
line
like,
was.
looks like saw blade.
It does. It really does.
3003, is that dividing a couple precincts also?
Yes.
It divides mine and his.
Yeah, see, he's got the middle of the road on 3003, everything on the waterfront side is mine, everything on the other side belongs to
But
man.
all that is precinct 1, JP and Constant.
No, that's precinct 1.
Yeah, precinct one.
Okay, but that's just information, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it runs down Bullock Road, don't it?
Part of it, yeah,
I was thinking the
comes
line.
out just about the gun range,
Mhm.
the bullet, and turn and goes to the river.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just trying to get that right in my head.
a wild looking situation.
Yeah.
I'm about 3/8 of a mile to the precinct 3 side,
Yeah.
JP line.
Crazy line.
Item number 8, consider extension agent's request for reimbursement, Miranda Revel, 20362, and Justin Rogers, $2,258.18.
I move we approve these requests for reimbursement.
Second.
Commissioner Sykes on the motion, Commissioner Wiley on the second,
So that leaves him on his budget.
to approve those
He's still
requests
got
for reimbursement respectively. All in favor?
These are some of his busy months and it'll go down.
Yeah, these are stock show months, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, should be going down pretty steep.
What's the next stock show?
There's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of talk, yeah.
He's all this dollar around quite a bit too, on camera.
Okay, we've already heard item number 9. Item number 10 is consider tax resale deeds. These are Purdue, Brandon, Fields, Collins, and Mott, regarding bid for a property on Teresa Drive at $110 and a royalty interest. I didn't check this to see where that was. In the bid amount $50. I thought I had a percentage down there, but
Very good deal.
it was pretty small percentage.
Is it?
Yeah,
Everybody had a chance to bid on it.
Oh, I see .282.
it's in your packet there, I guess.
Yeah.
Point
see it now.
005,952.
Yeah.
Well,
It says track number 1, and it's .282 acres.
You did well on it, that's plenty.
Yeah. That's true. Amen. Amen on that.
0.282 acres. I've seen a lot smaller than that.
Yeah, that's still pretty small.
I think I have seen a lot smaller than that.
Evidently, there's a well on it because its operators, I've never heard of it before. I mean, it's petroleum.
Yeah.
I've never ever heard of them before.
Okay,
So moved.
Wiley,
Second that.
Sykes. To approve that resale deed as requested by Purdue, Brandon, Field, Collins, and Mott. All in favor? Carried 5-0. I guess that'd be 2 resale deeds. Item number 11. discuss, consider Fort Belknap custodian authority to travel with Canon for exhibitions and demonstrations along the Texas Forest Trail. This is, I put that on there.
Yes, sir, I did. Jim and I was visiting about an article that was posted on Facebook with the Texas Forest Trail about coming to Fort Belknap and moving some students.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us exactly what happened there, Jim?
Well, it was an interesting project. Professor Hardin, the mass communication professor, Dr. Tim Chandler at Hardin-Simmons University, his assignment for his students was to take an artifact and write the history of it. And they chose Fort Belknap to come out, so he called and he asked me permission. I said, yeah, I have no problem with that as long as I get the research after they're done. And when they came out, we started talking about different artifacts. One of the things that everybody noticed was everything kind of intertwines with each other. These different artifacts all kind of, they tell the story of Young County history, but some of them are more specific that they were interested in, and that it kind of got into a bigger project. So he had bought a case, a museum display case, about $3,000 case, and it was sitting up in the Panhandle Plains Museum not being used. And he said, well, what if I give you this case to display these artifacts? Would that be okay? And I said, if you give it to us, it's ours. And he said, that's the plan. So he brought it down. We put this new display in with these artifacts. And he's also shot a little documentary where he interviewed some of the students about these artifacts, interviewed me about some artifacts, and then they're going to put out like a coffee table book on this. Anyway, that's kind of that project. But it was kind of a back and forth that he wanted to come and do this, which I was gracious enough to do this. I was gracious to him for him to pick Fort Belknap to come and do this. And in turn, we get a new display case that's brand new. Actually, when it arrived, it was still in the original packaging. And it's a climate control, got its own light, really beautiful display case. Anyway, so it was kind of a back and forth kind of thing, and that's kind of was telling Mike about that.
Anyway, and that's the project we were discussing when we started talking about other forts making requests that they bring the doctor to their forts for specific celebrations and exhibitions, as they have done their canons. And so I told Jim that we probably needed to make it policy where that was okay with Commissioner's Court, that he moved the cannon around that much. We've already obviously okayed him to move it from the fort down here and from the fort up to Hotter than Hell where they set it off and what have you. But to move it around to Fort Richardson, Fort Griffin, Fort McCavitt, Fort, down in San Angelo, Fort Concho.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever.
Would ever ask for, they got plenty of cannons down there.
Fort Concho wants our cannon crew. They don't want the cannon because they got too many cannons and not enough people. So.
And with Jim having these requests from these universities and these major research projects, we're just advancing the importance of Fort Belknap along that Texas Forest Trail. I thought that would behoove us to allow Jim the latitude to decide where and when to move that cannon for whatever reason, so that we would know that he's doing this and kind of keep him off the hook a little bit for doing it maybe with short notice that we have sometime in these meetings and not be able to do it. I think you have kind of got a semi-commitment to Fort Richardson.
Fort Richardson called the neat thing about Fort Richardson is that they are allowing that they want us to bring our gun there, because normally it's just Fort Sill because of some things that have happened in the past. The really awesome thing about it is being able to put your cannon up next to Fort Sill's cannon. The fact that they think of us that much, that our cannon crew is, because Fort Sill's cannon is on a different level. Their cannon crew is professional the way they do it. It's just because they're military guys.
Yeah. They're paid professionals.
Yeah, they're paid professionals to do this, and they're the ones that teach the class on the cannons. Anywhere in the state, that's where you go to get your cannon lessons and certifications and stuff like that. And for them to ask for us to come stand next to them, put our cannon up. And the neat thing is, it's the exact same cannon. Theirs is the bronze barrel, ours is the iron barrel. And Fort Belknap, as whenever it was active, it had 2 iron cannons and 1 bronze cannon. So it'd be neat, it would be neat to see the cannons next to each other and kind of marry them together. So anyway, they had called to ask us to come. Their thing is this weekend. And it would be Friday and Saturday. Their event is just like ours. It's Friday and Saturday. That's Fort Richardson. Fort Griffin does theirs in October, 2 weeks before ours, and then Fort McKavett does theirs in May.
Well, some of that's probably good, probably gonna limit it to a few places, and what I'm big concerned about is all of our liability in order for that to happen, and is, there could be a necessity for some waiver liability from the other places that might go prior to that.
You'll have that place down for.
Also, the vehicle, the sort of vehicle, I'm questioning about what kind of travel condition that it's in, if it gets very far away.
Yeah. And to be honest, that would be my biggest concern of the whole. We do have an option. I don't know that the county would allow a personal vehicle to pull.
It would be covered.
When you start talking about the insurance, it definitely changes hooking a personal vehicle up to it.
Yeah.
But if Matt or I would loan you a county truck to pull it with, that would probably help encapsulate that liability. I mean, one trip with that cannon is just as much liability as a dozen trips with that cannon. We already know it's probably covered when we take it to Wichita Falls. So that trip there illustrates the fact that we can move it and, with a liability. We have damage insurance on the cannon itself. We're talking about liability here. I think that you should probably pull it with a county vehicle. And so one of the precincts would be happy, I think, to loan you a vehicle when you go on these kind of trips also. But I think as Fort Belknap continues to gain stature along the Texas Forts Trail, and obviously it is when you're getting Hardin-Simmons and Midwestern, and those universities start picking them as projects for their students, that Fort Belknap is a very important part of the Texas Forts Trail. And it seems like heretofore it's been kind of ignored a little bit, and Jim, under your leadership, it's really kind of starting to get some light shine on it.
They just did, the Texas Fort Trail just started their passport to Texas for all the heritage trails have started, and they didn't cost us anything, and they put a page in there for Fort Belknap, we got a stamp, and it's a really neat deal. Even after that project ended the last time, people were still coming in asking if we had stamps, and that was when I just came in, and I didn't know anything about it, so whenever they called this time, I said I would love to absolutely, at least just to have a stamp, but they put us in as one of the stops, so.
So
And
now
it's
you think, like,
it's
you scan
yeah,
their passport?
it's just like, it has the Fort Belknap deal on there when you stamp it, we have it on page and everything on there. And it's reciprocal because, with these forts coming up, they bring their guns up here to us. We're not obligated to take our gun to them, but it would be nice to be able to do that. Or we could go down there and kind of entice them to bring theirs up to us. I'm really trying to convince Fort Concho to get their Gatling gun and bring it up to us.
I'll test it out.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, but,
Is there ever any exchange of releases of liability or anything like that, or holding harmless?
whenever they, the way it's set up, like, so if Fort Concho were to bring their gun to Fort Belknap, it's just their men on the gun. And so, and they're all, and that's if anybody else touches it, then, I don't know how they operate there, but they only allow their people to be on their gun, or somebody that's been trained in how to run a cannon. So like a guy from Fort McKavett can step in if Fort Concho needs another person. That's why I say Fort Concho would like our people to be there, not necessarily our gun, because we can help with running the cannon, so.
All of them are bringing their own liability insurance with them when they come.
Yeah, And of course, the practice on these guns is standard through every one of these sports. You have the exact same mark off, you know, you don't shoot if anybody's in front of it, no matter how far down range they are. So, I mean, we run ours the same way every other fort does whenever they come to us. So we, by seeing their safety practices, we put them in whenever we're at Fort Belknap. And to me, it's just smart to do it that way, the way that the state and the federal crews do it. So.
Well, I think that by building these reciprocal agreements with these other forts, that we're just going to enhance our position along the Fourth Trail to become a historical part of someone's circuit, should they want to visit the frontier posts that were so instrumental in calming Texas. And I think that those are very important, and I certainly think that we should do that, and I think we should give Jim the latitude to choose those. I think it'd be great if he reported every time he did move it to us at a meeting to let us know what's going on and that sort of thing. And one other thing came up too in our conversation is that these particular universities and entities, when they call, they ask for the director of Fort Belknap. They don't want to do business with a caretaker or custodian. They want to do business with the director. And I don't think that it would hurt us to allow Jim to use that title in his business dealings with these various entities to say that he is the director of operations at Fort Belknap.
I don't want Fort McCabe.
I remember when it was a pile of rocks, Jim.
But he has so many hookups, and he, like you said, nobody's done as good as him. I'm sorry, nobody has. He's done a really great job.
I mean, it doesn't cost us anything to do that. It just gives him latitude to do this kind, because the door is obviously open on Fort Belknap now to increase its value and its worth to this county, and to take it off of our hook as a stepchild.
I believe his title is attendant and curator. That's what it is.
Well, I think that by covering all that under the word director, because I think when they call him, they ask for the director anyway, don't they, Jim?
And that's, yeah, I always, well, yeah. How do you answer that when they call you as the director there? Yeah, well, yeah. But that's what, at all the forts, it's director, site manager. Anyway, and with, going back to Buchanan, it's not one of these things that every weekend I would be leaving, because my first responsibility is to Fort Belknap to the site. And when we have family reunions or something going on, that's going to mix any travel plans. But those weekends that we don't have anything going on and there isn't an event, right now there's 4 that we shoot the cannon at.
Well, would it necessitate, Jim, would it necessitate a tenant to cover for you?
Well, I usually, since we have more time and he knows the operations, I usually have him. We keep the museum open if I'm gone or not. The museum is always.
So it's always covered.
Yeah, it's always covered. So my dad usually comes in and steps in. He doesn't travel he doesn't want to camp with the crew or anything like that. So he loves coming and sitting out there and meeting people that come out there. So anyway, it's all, the fort is always open even when I'm gone.
This is just a matter of making things transparent so people out there won't know, who gave him permission to move that cannon around so much, or who gave him permission to do this, just so that the Commissioner's Court knows that, and that maybe it precipitates his ability to do more with the fort, with these other folks that are interested in our fort.
What does the doctor say about that, the guy that donated?
He wants it used. He I mean, of course, he took it to Civil War battle sites. He's just retiring from it. He still wants to use. That was his point of giving it to us, was that we use it. His one stipulation was that he did use it to start the Otter Hill. That was kind of his, but he wants us to use it. He came out, he trained us specifically on that piece. And every time I've talked with him, any questions about it, he's so gracious that we are using it, that we still, and to me, the way I see it, it's like a working artifact. out there. It's something that, it's a showpiece. It belongs at Fort Belknap because that's the exact same type gun that was at Fort Belknap. So to be able to relate the history of the fort to the gun and the fact that it actually works. When people come out there, they see it out there, and then you tell them, yeah, it's loud when you shoot it, they get excited that you actually still get to shoot it. And then, of course, if you've seen it in action, you know it's a thrill to use. So.
Speaking of that, it needs we need make some provisions out there where we put it out into the weather.
We've got a volunteer crew that is supposed to be helping me on that. That's the problem, is that they're volunteers. So we've got the materials to build it, right now, when the weather gets bad, I've got a pop-up tarp, put over it to keep the rain off of it. If I am able to get out there before the rain hits.
I'm probably talking, that's kind
Something
of
more-
display.
More permanent.
That's more
Yeah.
display. I'm kind of talking about something that can be closed up on,
Oh, yeah.
like little single car garage.
Yeah, that structure's been under discussion for a while, just need to find the location and exactly what kind of architecturally it needs to look like.
Well, we've got materials, it's just finding.
It'd be nice if you could do like roll down doors, you could roll it up if there's people
And then
around and then
upside
roll it
down.
down
Yeah.
to close it.
Well, we talked about that and talked about it being canvas, but
So far, the historical aspect of it's concerned.
sometimes it probably needs, sure enough.
I've got it locked to the ground right now. So I dug a big concrete, got chains in there, so whenever I put it where it's at, it locks itself together. So you're gonna have to dig out about a piece of concrete to pull it. And the fact that I've got it sitting, where it's sitting right now, I can see it from my bedroom, and it's been that way since we've gotten it. I keep my eyes on it to make sure when I'm there. Of course, when I'm not there, that's a different story, but it is locked down to the ground right now. That was my first concern about putting it out there. To me, it'd be, I don't know, I guess if somebody were to steal a cannon, you'd be able to find them pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Is there any inspection you have to do on that cannon?
Whenever we go to another site, they have a weapons inspector there, and they check the barrel to look for cracking and all that kind of stuff. They used to do as an old school test when they come up with a ball peen hammer and you could listen. Too many private citizens own cannons that they don't want somebody hitting the cannon with a pipe, so they don't use a ball peen hammer anymore. But they do. They'll inspect every one of them. They know what to look for. So yeah, of course safety is always the priority of that because it can be deadly. But we make sure, and then whenever we have our event, one of the other, like Fort Concho, their guy that does their inspections is always here, and so we let him do our weapons inspections while he's here. And that goes for all the black powder rifles and guns and all that stuff too, so. Because there is, and like I say, that's why I follow the suit of, Fort Concho has kind of the way you do it. That's because they've done it for so long and they're so big, you kind of go by what they do, so we kind of just follow Fort Concho's, their style on how their safety inspections and everything, so.
I don't have any problem with it traveling some. I do think it need to be careful about that, not travel all the time.
Yeah, I don't, and
But for 4 events or whatever it is that you thinking on the Forest Trail, I don't have any problem with that, as long as we've got a vehicle that's roadworthy.
We'll make sure that, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, but make sure that if the trailer comes loose from the vehicle and rolls through a convenience store, there's where the liability problem exists between a personal vehicle versus a commercial or a business class vehicle.
well, and interesting thing with pulling the cannon is I usually, if the speed limit's 75, I'm going 60. I do that just for my own, to calm my own soul while I'm driving it. But the same thing, like whenever we go to Wichita Falls for Hotter Than Hell, I've got the right of way because not a lot of people see a cannon coming through town. So people pull over, they slow down, they wanna see it, so I'm always getting the right of way. And whenever I go into Wichita Falls, we get into downtown, he usually, because they've got so much blocked off down there, that he usually has me an escort to drive. So, I mean, everything is.
Have you got a log of where the cannon is, the number of shots that been shot through the cannon, that kind of thing?
We do. Well, that's kind of, it's not something you have to do, but every cannon crew does it, and it's neat to.
You said it cost approximately $45 or so to shoot?
About
that cannon?
45. The powder is $35 when we shoot the thing. The primer itself is $9 and some change for each primer that goes off. But that's Friends Fort Belknap right now is the one that pays they do
What's the
the
bill for
primer
that?
and they support that. And another thing, whenever we go to other forts to shoot the cannon off, you're always paid in powder. They always pay you back what you shot in powder. So that's kind of a neat thing. Usually they give you 1 or 2 extra pounds of powder to have. So,
So Jim, do you have a fuel card?
I'd like to move that we give Jim Hammond latitude to move the cannon to reciprocal visits to on the Forts Trail. And should he need to move it anywhere else, we would appreciate maybe letting us know or asking permission about moving it to some celebration outside the Forts Trail. Okay, so my motion is just going to include the Forts Trail.
I'll second that.
And then he has to use one of the county vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, please use one of the county vehicles.
and that would include Hotter than Hell, though, wouldn't it? Even you said Fort Trail.
You even, yeah, Fort Trail. Well, we've already got a contractual obligation on that cannon to,
That's
in
our
Hotter than Hell.
prior to.
So
Thank you.
this doesn't change that relationship.
You like doing that harder than hell, don't you?
It's neat.
Yeah.
13,000.
Come on, we're at the starting
Yeah.
line, we're at the starting line and the flyover, and
Where do you start that?
what's that?
It's on Scott Street, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right on the river,
Where the creek is.
if you know where the Hotter Hill building is at, we're right next to the Hotter Hill building where they do the.
So you got a clear line of sight to fire it off in?
Actually, we're shooting into the bank of the roof because that higher side is over there, so you get that push out and then.
Does it come back?
Yeah. And they always have a dignitary from from Shepherd Air Force Base.
To pull the
come
string.
down to pull the string for us, so, and you would think generals are good at following orders, but when it's just lowly me telling them, wait till his hand goes down before you pull the string, it's,
How do you remodel it?
oh, we're done. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm gonna
It is awesome.
get this one out of the way.
Thank you. You bet.
Okay. Motion by Sykes, second by Judge Bullock, to allow Fort Belknap Lieutenant Jim Hammond the latitude to reciprocate visits with other forts along the Forts Trail, including the doctor or the gun that we have, the cannon, and its transport to those various places. Anything we need further than that?
No, I would like to bring up the director thing as a separate motion,
With what?
allowing him to use the term director in association with his other titles.
Well, he doesn't need anything else, he can be called director, they can refer him to director.
Sounds to me like that's giving you permission to use director.
Or whatever they want to call you.
But I
Sound like
don't
director,
change- I don't
director.
change that on the bottom.
If you want the cards, director of Fort Belknap, go ahead and write it down. So let it be written, so let it be done.
I asked for the long guy. I'll talk to your wife.
Yeah. But she's gonna stay caretaker. Call for the vote.
All in favor of the traveling doctor?
Aye.
5
You need a little thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think
The way
that
that
way.
is, that if you can kind of make that call, which places you believe the property go to.
Right now, I just foresee those, Richardson.
So you're talking Richardson, McCavitt,
and
Griffin?
That's really the ones that, they're the active ones that are on the fort right now, other than Concho.
They come on Fort Belknap days, right?
Favors return would be good.
Well, that's kind of the whole premise. I want to make sure that,
Building these relationships is really key, I think, to developing the fort. The coffee table book, who's printing that?
that's Hardin Simmons. They're doing that, and.
Is the coffee table book gonna be strictly Fort Belknap?
Yeah, it's, artifacts, it's all Fort Bell now.
When go any further than that?
I think that's gonna be out in the fall. We've already got the display up with all the artifacts put in there. He's gonna add some narrative to it, to kind of tell the story. And I'm gonna let him print that because that'll be on his dime, not
Do
mine.
you have his selfie books?
And we'll get books to sell, and the documentary, that they're doing on those artifacts is, that'll all come out at the same time. Let me say this though, they are doing at Frontier Texas in Abilene on April 26th, they're doing this project, presenting this project for their grade. That's when that is gonna happen. So all the students will be there, present their artifact, they're not gonna have their artifact, they'll have the video and, that they took of it. And they're doing that at Frontier Texas, so. Anyway, they asked me to come down there to sit on their grading. Same thing with the Texas Tech cemetery thing. They want me to sit for her doctoral thesis that she's been doing for the cemetery. They asked me to sit on
But that's not Fort Belknap Cemetery.
the Fort Belknap Cemetery.
No, it's not Fort Belknap Cemetery.
What's it called?
Belknap Cemetery.
Belknap Cemetery, the civilian cemetery.
I knew where you did.
Civilian cemetery, yes.
The Fort Belknap Cemetery
Yeah.
was north of the fort, and all of those have been resurrected and moved.
Moved,
sent down.
exhumed?
The civilian cemetery, they asked me to sit on her doctoral board to grade and all that research, everything that they've done, we should be getting in the fall, along with Hardin Simmons.
Need to keep that denotation separate.
I do.
Cemetery.
Yeah.
That's, that's,
When I'm talking to people at the fort, I always make sure they know the difference between civilian and military, but I wasn't expecting to be caught.
You find anybody interested in the history of Belknap?
Yeah, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people, whenever you tell them there used to be a town here, they really get it,
Really?
so,
And it was really Wild West.
yeah.
Engines and all.
Engines and all.
actual
Drug
assassination and
killers.
everything else there.
There were two, Sheriff Kirk in 1884 was killed out there. And that's an interesting one of his things. There's not a lot of research on him, but that's a little story that needs to be told.
Was that a gunfight?
He was going in to arrest a guy at a saloon, and the guy had a buffalo gun laying over his lap. Sheriff Kirk walked in and said, "I'm here to arrest you." He shot him with a buffalo gun. As Sheriff Kirk goes down, he pulls his gun out and shoots the
Wow.
guy that shot him. So they both died. Sheriff Kirk was buried, I think he's buried here in this cemetery. There's a mountain here named Kirk Mountain. And then the outlaw that he killed, he was dragged out in the woods for the wolves to eat. So,
Wasn't he the first sheriff?
What year was that?
for 1880, it was early 1880s, late 1870s.
He was the first sheriff, I believe.
Well,
Kirk was,
because
because
it's earlier than that. wasn't it?
it was after the military days. It was while the town was still, because when the town encroached onto the.
Graham was already founded by that time.
This is,
I remember looking at that, the sheriff,
I
first
don't know
sheriff
if part
here.
of the community did it.
Because the first sheriff here was
Was
killed
killed
too.
too.
Community was left, but, Young County was disorganized, and
It was after the reorganization, was whenever he was killed.
that would have been about 67, somewhere along there, and then it was reorganized about 10 years later, which would have put it to 74 or 5,
Yeah.
somewhere along in there.
Fort Worth may brag about that's where the West begins, but it had fully begun out here.
When it was reorganized, there was an election, I think, that made Graham the permanent seat. That was with the gift of the square, and in return for that positive vote, for making Graham the seat,
Yeah.
permanent seat. And there was a election or two after that to remove the seat back to either the center of the county or Bellingham. I guess there might have been a community there at that time still.
It's an interesting story.
But the county wasn't created until 1856.
Not always the same commission.
And that, I think that cemetery's got
I think we should make it just like it used to.
prior to that.
Their case study out there was 1855, so yeah, it's prior to it's prior to that time.
Back then, Commissioner.
I've got 2 great uncles buried there myself.
Do you?
We just had a burial out there 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Scale Indians are shot by the sheriff.
No, but actually disease got them
Did they?
as infants. One of them was,
Hard times?
I don't know, this, one of them was just a few days old and the other one was about 2 years old.
Baby making was hard on women and children back then.
Have we got the fence painted at the cemetery?
I haven't gotten there yet. Yes. I'm getting there.
Too busy moving to Canada.
Well,
Too cold. Been too cold. Too cold. Okay.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to find somebody to donate paint for us too, to cover the thing, so.
Okay, item number 13 is to formally accept, I believe, the donation of drug dog sound.
Number 12,
Yeah, no mass gathering.
mass gathering permit.
Okay. Let's get 13 of them called out, so I
Okay.
accept that. It's got a letter attached to it, I think all of you have seen that.
I'll move we accept the donation of same.
We didn't have the paperwork at our last meeting when the dogs were here.
It was an interesting meeting.
So you had the motion?
I did.
Wiley,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, okay, we'll go back to.
Let's take about a 10-minute recess before we start this.
Start discussion on this.
All right, it may take a while.
Well, it shouldn't take very long.
Should.
No, he's got it defined pretty good.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's real complicated. Three little parts. I have no problem with horse training. Matter of fact, my grandson's gonna sing the national anthem at Lone Star Park on July 13th.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
I wanna go.
Thank you, Jim.
I've
Never
never
been there.
It's the week after 4th of July.
I've never been
about
about.
sale sometime pretty quick.
Have you been over there? On pretty nice track?
Have you?
No, I have not.
I've
I'm
never-
looking forward to
I
it.
wanna go.
Especially with him getting to sing the national anthem. It's gonna be
That's
great.
pretty cool, man.
Were you at the auction today when he sang the national anthem and started the auction?
I wasn't.
Yeah.
How did
He went and tried that about 2 months ago with Lone Star Park. And picked several kids to do it. Isn't that great, Dad?
I would not wear that.
Come on.
Nasty boy.
Yeah. Only. Palm leaf hats are big. When did palm leaf hats start being made? 1820s, 30s? Sam Houston, that's old palm leaf, didn't he?
That's only cowboy hats.
Sir?
December 11th.
I like them, they fit.
December 11th.